afternoon, everybody. This is Francesco Abbruzzino, and I am here today with a special guest, Jim Donovan. He's an author, a speaker, and a coach. He's helping you to create the life you were born to live, and his latest book is Happy at Work, Inspire, Engage, and Excite. How are you doing out there today, Jim?
I'm doing great, Francesco. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great. Tell us a little bit about your book, and what are some of the expectations of what would you like to see people walk away with after they're done reading it?
Well, the book is a simple little book. There's 60 chapters. The subtitle on it is 60 Simple Ways to Stay Engaged and Be Successful. What I would like to see as a takeaway for people is that they learn different ways to make themselves feel better. And I wrote the book in response to what's going on in the workplace. According to Gallup, 70% of the people are disengaged. The price tag for that is $550 billion in lost productivity every year.
Yeah.
I don't think we can sustain that. I don't think people want to be that way.
Are they just attributing that to the people not being happy, or there are other variables like the Facebook variable?
Well, no, they're talking about people that are unhappy. It was really about disgruntled workers. There's 18% of the workforce that's actively disengaged. They spend their time trying to spread ill will throughout the company. There's a lot of factors at work here, but what people are finding out, this is really the key of the whole thing, is that companies and studies coming out of Harvard and various companies are finding out, this shouldn't be any big surprise, by the way, that as you make people happier, they become more engaged. As they become more engaged, they become more productive, and the net result is more revenue and increase in business. So companies are now starting to reinvest in their employee development. This is a good thing for everybody.
Well,
the people that are really unhappy that want to leave are going to leave, and the people who want to do better are going to do better.
So how do you, I'm a business owner, a small business owner. How do you recognize that they are unhappy? Because generally they're not going to say it to me. You might be able to pick up on some body language or some comments they may make. And then after you recognize it, what do you do to try to correct it?
Well, you try to bring people back in. I think one of the problems, there's a couple of things that I addressed in the book and in my seminars and coaching, and it really works around the idea that, number one, why am I here? Why am I getting out of bed in the morning? What's my whole life? Let's go back and start with my life. I wake up in the morning, what am I like? And because I'm going to carry that through the day, and I come into the workplace, why am I going to work? Why do I go to this job today? Is it just because I came here yesterday? I don't know where else to go? What got me engaged in this in the first place? Why did I want to be in this particular career or this particular field? What's it providing for me? A lot of what I'm reading in the media is talking about what companies can do to re-engage people, and that's great. I think companies have a real responsibility here, especially in training and developing their people. But there's a flip side. If I'm going to be spending 8 or 10 hours of my day, my life, which is all I have, at a workplace, at a job, I want to find ways to feel better about it. So a lot of it is taking control of my own communication with myself. Instead of looking at all the things that are wrong with what's going on, let's flip that around. What's good about this job? How about, hey, hello, it puts food on your table. Wow, it is a big plus. If you've ever been without food for any period of time, you know what I'm talking about. And they've done that.
So, a lot of people will sit here today and they say, look, I'm not happy in my job, but there weren't a lot of opportunities out there, and I basically took what was available. And you're saying, it's great. You may have had to settle where some people actually were lucky enough to fall into what they like. Like, I love doing this radio show. But if you're not happy, and even though you're stuck taking a job because it was the only one out there, you have to take personal ownership and make yourself happy. You have to find the positive attributes of that job. Is that what you're basically telling them to walk away with, and they got to try to find some happiness within there?
Well, that's part of it, and there's a little more to it than that, because if I start analyzing what do I want in my own life, that's kind of where I start with people, is what do you want your life to look like in 5 years? Where do you want to be? So even if, let's say I'm in a job that I don't particularly want, like you said, I just landed in it, it's not where I want to be, it's not doing what I want to be doing. It's important to understand that until I start feeling better right where I am in the present, I cannot possibly attract what I want in the future. I can't be hating where I am and being angry about my job and talking it down and all of this trash that you hear from people and expect to attract a better opportunity. Law of attraction says that doesn't happen. You can't do that. That violates principles of the universe. So I have to start getting into a place of where I'm in gratitude, I'm in appreciation. Find something to appreciate. I don't care what you're doing for a job. I've done all kinds of things in my life. My life is like been an experiment. Really, I've done, you name it, I've never done that. A lot of it's in my books and on my website, and I've hit bottom, and that's how I know a lot of what I know. I learned the hard way. I learned by living through it and struggling through it and having to figure out ways to make myself feel better so I wouldn't commit suicide at one point. That was part of it. So yeah, you learn how to just, what is good about this job? What do I like? What gets me here? Find a little thread to make me feel better, because as I feel better, my energy, my vibration, everything goes up. I start to attract more of what I want in my life. So maybe I'll move. Maybe an opportunity will show up in my face. Maybe a company will move me to a different job within the company. That happened to someone I know. Was very unhappy in a position, a high-level position, and not so easy to replace. He went looking, actually started to take another job and talked to his boss and found out what was really going on. And the company said, you know what, we want to keep you. We're going to make some adjustments to keep you here, that you'll be happier and we're all going to benefit. Because high-level people in particular, your managers and on up, are not so easy to replace. You know, this isn't like somebody's going to pop into this job and learn it in 10 minutes. If you're a VP or an AVP or somewhere, that person walks out the door, you just spent another $300,000-$400,000 trying to replace them.
Right.
So it's a lot of issues at play here. And I think the bottom line of it all is that we deserve to be happier in our work, in our lives, period. People aren't happy in their life. That's the bigger picture of what I'm doing here. But you know, the workplace is where the attention is right now. The workplace is where presumably companies are willing to spend some money to invest in their people. I'm trying to get in here and work with your people, make them feel better, raise them up. You know.
So you're saying one of the things is if, let's say you have a boss that's just a jerk and you're going through everything, all the processes to try to enjoy this work atmosphere that you've been stuck with because there's nothing out there. You're like, hey, I took this job, I got to make it happen. But you got a boss that just keeps coming at you. Would you suggest sitting down with them and trying to work through it? Because sometimes that doesn't work so well, does it?
Not necessarily, but that's a tricky situation because there are things in any situation. There are things that you can change, things that you cannot change. And the important part of that, and this is out of the Serenity Prayer, the important part is to know the difference between the two. So maybe I can't change my boss. I can change my interaction. I can maybe try to develop, a lot of times, and I address this in Happier Work in a short chapter. There's 60 chapters in 140 or so pages. So they're really short chapters, but I talk about dealing with difficult people. And I mean, sometimes you just can't avoid having to deal with these people because maybe it's your boss. You've got to find a way to feel better. You got to find a way to be able to communicate with them. And sometimes it's just a matter of giving that other person the respect that they deserve. I mean, you may be a jerk, but you deserve my respect even through that. So you try to recognize that we're all human beings. We're all pretty much doing the best we can here, folks. And yeah, I may be acting like a jerk at the moment. There may be a whole lot of things behind that. Because if that boss is a jerk, I'll tell you from my own knowledge and experience, they're not a happy person. Happy people not treat other people poorly.
Now,
bottom line right there. High self-esteem people raise people's self-esteem, not the other way around.
Well, I think a lot of times someone's lifestyle could impact how they are feeling at work. And it sounds like your book, how to deal with people that are just pains in the butt and whatever. I forget the specific title of that chapter, but you can take that information and use it in your personal life, which in turn will, if you make that a positive outcome, it'll help you on the work end, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's been my turf for the last 18 years. I wrote Handbook to a Happier Life and What Are You Waiting For? It's Your Life, and a lot of 5 other personal development books. This one happens to have the word work in it, so it's getting a little more focus and attention addressing the issue in the workplace, because that's an issue that, when a company starts losing money, all of a sudden your happiness and well-being becomes more important. Your happiness is not a factor if everything else is the same. Mm-hmm. All being equal, whether you're happy at home or not is not really my job as your employer. But as soon as that's starting to come into the workplace and I realize that we're losing money because you're not happy at home and at work, well, if I could change that, let me change it. And 3 things are going to happen. The people that are engaged and happy are going to feel better. The people that are borderline are going to start learning some skills that they can use. Because a lot of this is just tools and techniques that you can use to pull your own strings, push your own buttons. And the people that are totally disengaged, they're going to learn how to be more engaged. They're going to either choose to do that or they're going to leave. So either way, you win. Companies don't want people. Someone told me this yesterday. Companies are trying to figure out an easy way to let people go that would rather be gone. And that's important. If you're in a job and you really want to be somewhere else, the company ideally would help you get there. Mm-hmm. Make that path easier. Help support you in going somewhere where you are going to be happy, because there's someone that wants this job that will be thrilled to have it, whatever that job is. It may be anything from mopping floors to CEO. There's somebody that would like the job that you're so angry and unhappy in. So when the music stops, if everybody can sit down and be where they want to be, we're all going to be better off. That's kind of an idealistic view.
Now, does your book also help the manager to learn how to cope or handle some of the employees better so that they are happier?
Well, that's a big part of it, because sometimes, and if you talk to people one-on-one and you start really picking away at why they're not happy at work, you hear a couple of things. You hear, we're asked to do more with less. Everybody's being asked to do more with less.
Right.
Most people I've talked to are not really complaining about that. What they are complaining about is not being recognized for it.
Really?
That's an easy enough thing to fix. If I'm a manager, I can fix that in a heartbeat. The other things that you're hearing is they don't feel connected to the company. I heard this at a really high level of a really big company that'll remain nameless, because it's embarrassing that their managers were walking out after hearing the corporate vision and not seeing their connection to it. So there's a case where a manager can do a little bit of strategic planning session with the team, bring people in and say, all right, here's the goal for the company, here's the vision for our department, here's the vision for your responsibility. Let's see how all of this fits together. So now I'm starting to see my role in the big picture. I'm going to automatically begin to feel better. This is not brain surgery, by the way.
Yeah, no, and it makes a lot of common sense. But a lot of times, I remember when I was a regional manager with GTE, and I was managing our wireless and our CLEC, and a lot of times I had the challenge of keeping my team happy, but meeting the company's objectives, which sometimes conflicted with each other, because when you're over there telling your salespeople, hey, I want 40 lines or I'm going to have to fire you, they're not going to be too happy when you're keeping that pressure on them. And it's trying to find that balance sometimes as a manager dealing with your employees.
It's tricky. And some of that, in my opinion, would go back to, are these sales goals and things, are they even reasonable? Does anybody expect to reach them? I've seen that in companies where somebody will pick a goal, and this is a story right out of telecommunications. Firsthand from my wife, who was in a meeting with a vice president at New York Telephone at the time, and they said something about where are we going to get the statistics for this meeting, and her boss, who was an AVP, looked at her and said, just take them off the crosstown bus. So you wait for the bus to go by, you write down the number on the side of the bus, and then you project. I mean, that's happened. I've been at pricing meetings, and you've been there too, where how much are we going to sell this widget for? Somebody will I'll pick a number, and they'll see if it works, if it's test. So sometimes maybe the whole thing needs to be looked at. But if you have salespeople and you're leaning heavily on them to reach goals, most salespeople are okay with that. They wouldn't be in sales if they weren't. But what's on the other side of that? Are they getting the rewards? Are they getting the recognition? I did a little chapter on rewarding yourself and others. I used to do that when I was making cold calls. I don't like making cold calls any more than anyone else. So if I make 5 calls, maybe I'll go have a cookie, or I'll take myself to lunch. Or if I get 2 deals this week, I'll go to lunch. Whatever. That's why companies have contests and prizes for salespeople. They know that rewards motivate people. So that's, again, not a hard thing to do. There are companies that have done the Employee of the Month parking space. Amazing results from things like that, because it goes right through the organization. And now everybody wants that parking space. And now everybody's now competing a little bit to be a better employee. And again, we're bringing everyone up. Happy, engaged people are happier people. If I'm engaged in what I'm doing, I'm going to feel better. I'm going to be happier. My life is going to be better. That's the bottom line. My turf is personal development. I want you to have a better life.
Right.
Just boom.
Now, does your book help a person to handle the one situation you brought up with feeling connected with the company?
Well, yeah, because I'm going to take you through a whole process. And if you go into visioning and goal setting, you can call it strategic planning, call it what you want. But understanding, again, what do I want in my life? And how does this all fit together? Why am I even getting out of bed in the morning? And most people don't take the time to go through this. A better one is that there's a very long chapter in here. The only long chapter in there is on values. What's most important to me in my life? What's most important to me in my career? If I don't understand what that is, and I wind up being out of alignment with that, if my value is, one of my high values is being home with my family, and I take a road warrior job, I'm never going to be happy,
right? No
matter what. Unless I can convince myself that doing this is making my life better for my family, then I'll be okay with it. I still won't be happy.
But what if you're stuck in a situation where you take this job because it was the only one out there, so you go through your processes to try to make yourself happy and accept it, but it just doesn't seem to work out, but there's no other options out there. You're sort of stuck in that rut, aren't you? Are you ever going to make yourself happy if you've tried everything, you're just not getting there, and you're thinking it's greener on the other side, but there's no pastures on the other side to go to that new job?
Well, that's happening a lot right now. People are looking at other companies and not seeing anything different. So really, at some point, we have to have a systemic change going on, at least in America. I can't speak for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
You may reach a point where this is, I know that I would not personally stay very long. If I'm really that unhappy somewhere, I'm going to find a way out. Just because, again, this is my life.
Right.
The number one thing in my life is my life, and everything else comes below. It has to be that. It's the only way you can do it. So if I absolutely hit a wall and there's nothing I can do to feel any better in this company, whatever it takes, I'm going to go do something else. And that's happening. There's a story came out last week about 40 to 50-year-old executives that are changing careers. They're actually taking less of a salary in return. The trade-off is more work-life balance. So people are saying no to the big, high-pressure, high-ticket jobs, saying, you know what, I don't need $300 a year to be happy. Give me $150, and I'll chill out my life a little bit, and everything will be cool. So we're going to start seeing that trend coming on next. The trend people was talking about that last week. Because quality of life is becoming the issue in 2014 and beyond. We're waking up to that.
Yeah, and that's my biggest problem. I'm 47, I'll be 48 this year, and I'm just so work. And I want to sit there and be with my family and hang out and relax, but I just can't get out of that mentality. And sometimes it doesn't make you happy. Sometimes it just kills you, but it's hard to get out of that mentality.
Why is it hard?
For me, it's the hardest thing in the world to do. I don't know why. I can't sit still. If I'm sitting still with my family out there, I start thinking about new ways to make money, new businesses in my head, and I wish I didn't. Unfortunately, that's just something that happens.
That's entrepreneur, because I'm the same way, but I can still unplug. So you have the luxury or the privilege of working for yourself, or having a small business.
Uh-huh.
That's a little bit different because you're more heavily invested in it than if you were just working in a job somewhere. You're more committed. You're engaged in what you're doing. You have to be, or it doesn't happen, right?
Right.
So how do you balance that with family time? And that's always, I think everybody in their own business asks that question constantly. And I think it's just a matter of coming back to what's important to me in my life. It's one of the reasons when I do vision exercises with coaching clients, with seminars, workshops, whatever. One of the things that I do is talk about 7 different areas of your life. I'm not just going to talk about how do I make more money? How do I have a better career? Let's talk about your health. Let's talk about your family relationships. I don't want to see a situation I saw here where I live. A number of years ago, there was a house that went up for auction. It was a multi-million-dollar house. And the guy said that by the time he was had reached the income levels where he could afford to have that house, he had lost the relationship, destroyed the relationship with his family, and he was rattling around the house by himself. And it was one of the saddest things I've ever seen. This guy had this beautiful $2 million, $3 million house that had to be sold because it was just him in it. And he had destroyed everything he wanted it for. That's where knowing your values, knowing what's important to you, having a plan for your life to some degree. And it's not carved in stone, but if I know what my life looks like in its totality, and I do because I'm living the goals that I set 20 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, 5 years ago. It's a continually evolving process, but it keeps tweaking. It's not radical. It's like, okay, what do I want for this coming year? I just had a birthday, so what's my next year? One of my areas is going to be fitness, because I did health last year. I'm going to continue the health, of course, but now I'm going to drill down a little more on fitness and get back to that. What do I want in my career? What do I want in my relationships? Where do we want to go on vacations? If you start looking at that and looking at your life, all too often people set goals in financial areas only. That's all everybody seems to be concerned about. It's like, if I have enough money, I'm going to be happy. You know what? That's not true. I can be happy broke. I have been happy flat broke. I lived in a car in California for a few days. I was perfectly content. I was okay. I found a way to be okay with it. Again, it goes back to what am I telling myself about it? Is this the end of my life, or is this just a little bump in the road? That's a big one. I've been in life-altering situations where I had to be able to take control of what am I going to tell myself about this so that I get through it. And this is where the rubber meets the road, because if you go at that wrong, and in those kinds of situations, you can wind up in all kinds of nasty places like mental institutions or worse. I do know people that have killed themselves.
Yeah.
It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem, as far as I'm concerned. So you find better ways, and this comes into the workplace. It's all one thing. It's all one life. But we're not taught. What bothers me more than anything, I've been doing this. I work with myself now for 28 years. I've been teaching it for 20 something of them and writing about it for 18. We're not taught this. We're not taught personal development skills at any point in an education. You can go through, get PhDs, and you don't run into this information. Somewhere in the 4th grade, somebody should start talking to young kids, and they'll take the information in quickly. Start talking about what are some things that would make you feel better. What do you want to do? Where would you like to go? And I'm not talking about putting kids into a career path I'm just trying to get them, because kids will be goal oriented if you give them some processes to do that.
Well, I like everything you're saying, because a lot of what you're saying I already do, and I've always been that way. And I don't know if it's because I started after college, doing sales, and that's how we had to think was you can do this. When I'm sick, when my wife's sick, I'm like, just think you're not sick, believe you're not sick, and you won't feel sick. And she thinks I'm an idiot. But it goes along the lines of what you're saying, and what you're trying to communicate is just believe it. If you think you're going to be, if you think you're happy, and you're going to sell yourself on it, then you will eventually be there.
Well, that's one of the things, and I start one of my seminars with that. What are your morning questions? What do you do when you wake up in the morning? Brian Tracy talked about that. Everybody talks about this in personal development. The first things that, most people wake up and they're going, oh, I got to get up, I got to go to work, why do I have to do this, why do I have to do that? They haven't even gotten out of bed and they're miserable. They just sabotage the day, the first 5 minutes. There is some school of thought around that teaches that the first 20 minutes of your morning can set the entire tone for your day.
I believe that.
That's a great, I do too, because I practice it. I've been meditating now for 25 or so years, and I spend that hour or so in the morning getting my head screwed on right, because I can very easily go over the edge. I have no problem going into space. I was raised Irish in a dysfunctional house. Come on, it doesn't get any crazier than my house.
Now,
you find ways. You change how you communicate with yourself. That's what Captain Jerry Coffey said when he was a POW in Vietnam. How did you get through this? Tony Robbins said to him, how did you come out of this thing? It was an amazing experience. He said, I've mastered communication with myself. This is the big aha. This is where people are dropping the ball. Because they're telling themselves all these things that are making them feel worse. And they're wondering why they feel worse. Well, stop talking about feeling lousy. You might start to feel better.
Yeah,
it's like you said with your wife. Saying I'm sick, I feel, oh my God, I feel, oh wow, if you knew how I felt, that's not improving the situation. I'm not saying live in denial, but there's no reason to amplify the negative. There's no benefit. There's no payback.
And that's so true. I tell you, if I sit there and I focus on the negative, it's just bring me down. But if I focus on something else, more of what I believe to be the positive, it will change your life around and your day around. Now, I bet if people read this book, Happy at Work, they can get a lot of this information, and it costs them a discounted value of what? How much does your book go for?
I don't know. The retail price is $14.99. I'm not sure what it is. $14.95. It's all over different prices.
$14.95, and you can make your life that much better.
Well, and there's something in there about that. I talk about committing to personal development. One of the things that's made the difference in my life, I don't know if you've got a chance to look at my whole bio, from the down and out and the booze and drugs and blah, 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 and the life and the bottom and all this and that. The one thing that has contributed more to the success that I've achieved, and I've achieved a relative amount of it insofar as touching the lives of people all over the world in a big way. All of that is because I committed to reading a little bit every day back around almost 20 years ago, probably more than 20 years ago. I got the idea from, I think, Dr. Dennis Waitley, and I started reading a little personal development. I listened to personal development audios, and it keeps my head screwed on right. That's the whole key to it. I'm impervious to most of the negativity going on around me. It just rolls right off because I'm in a positive place. I can very easily drop back into a negative place. That's why I read every day. It's like somebody said to Zig Ziglar, well, motivation doesn't last. He said, yeah, David is bathing. That's why you do it every day. And it's a simple answer. And I know, being in sales, that you were in meetings where the meeting starts out with, okay, so what's wrong? Sales are down. What's wrong, Francesco?
Yeah.
That's the wrong question to ask. So ask the other side of that. Ask what's right. What's going right? Because, again, law of attraction, you can't get to what's working by going to what's not working.
Exactly.
It's a roundabout way. You can get there eventually, I'm sure. But the easier way is to go right to what's going right and then build from there, because you'll attract more of that into your life as you do that.
Well, let me ask you this, Jim. How can people get a hold of you if they're interested in having you do some speaking, some coaching, if they're interested in your Happy at Work? I do have your website on the banner below here, and I will send out your web address when I put this out on all my media outlets.
Great.
What do you have an email? Do you have how can they get in touch with you? Is there a number they can call if they'd like to get you in as a speaker or a coach?
Yeah, they can call 215-794-3826. They can email jim@jimdonovan.com. The website is probably the best place because everything kicks off from there. Jim Donovan Author on Facebook, Jim Donovan on LinkedIn and Twitter, and Jim's Gems on YouTube. And I'm all over the place. If you go to jimdonovan.com/happy, you can get a free gift to get on my newsletter list. It'll keep you up on what's going on. I'm easy to find. I'm easy to find.
Yeah, you are, and I find
it takes a lot of effort to be this easy to find.
So if you want to improve your work life, your balance, increase employee engagement, reduce stress and overwhelmingness, and reduce turnover and absenteeism, you're the guy to go to with your Happy at Work book that you've authored out there.
You got it. Thank you. The book, seminars, workshops, coaching, training. Our goal here is to, the big picture is to change the tone of the workplace in America.
That's great.
It's a big job, and it's going to take more than just me, for sure. And there's a lot of people on board with this idea that, we're seeing more of it. The vibration's coming back. We're coming back up again.
Well, hopefully you'll all see at it because we need it.
Yeah, exactly. We need it. And we need people like you out here doing what you're doing, for sure. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And hope whenever you want to come back on, just reach out to me. And have a great day.
Hey, that'd be great. Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you. All right, that was Jim Donovan. Great interview. Hopefully you guys enjoyed everything that you saw there. And everybody have a great day.